Now I want to start with fixing this first error here, which I get after going through all the questions, even if I'm just going through those questions the first time. And to fix this error and to get rid of this bug, I want to take a closer look at the error messages presented by Flutter, because those indeed very often help you analyze what's going wrong and help you find and fix the problem that is causing the error. Now here you can see that if things do go wrong and your app throws an error whilst running, you see that error message right here on the screen. And by the way, this of course is a feature that only exists during development. If you built the app for production and distributed it through the app stores, your users will not see those error messages. There, the app will very likely just crash. But during development, you see the error message right here on the screen, and this error message might sometimes already be all you need to find out what's causing this error. Here, for example, we learn that the error seems to be related to typecasting. And this already might be a good hint, because in this application that we have here, there is only one place where we are doing some typecasting. And that's in this summary item, where I'm casting some types to tell Dart that certain values in my map are of certain types. But the error message that's shown directly inside of the app might not always be enough to find out what's going wrong. And for that reason, it can be helpful to explore a more complete error output and dive into the error message in greater detail. And you can do that when using Visual Studio Code by opening the panel under View, Appearance, Panel, or by using the panel shortcut you see here. If you open that panel, you should go to the debug console here at the bottom, and it's inside of this debug console where you get more details about the error that was thrown. For example, here you see the error message, and it even tells you which widget was causing this error message or was related to this error message. And you also get a link to the file and even the line of code that caused the error, though if you click on this link here, you see that it in the end takes you to the questions summary widget, and there to the line where the summary item is used. Which makes sense, because it's the summary item widget that was causing the error. But you can get more details about the error if you scroll up. And that's in general a good idea. When you get an error in your Flutter app, you can always open that debug console and there scroll up. You should at some point reach such a stack trace, so such a long list of involved method calls, but most of those calls will be internal calls by Flutter related to the code written by the Flutter team, and you can ignore those. But if you scroll to the top of this stack trace, you will find more information that's relevant to you. For example, here we get the error message again, and sometimes you don't have an error message here at the bottom. In that case, you should always scroll up to see the actual error message. And in addition to this error message, you also again learn which widget was related to the error. And, very important, you should get at least one line in that stack trace here that's highlighted. In this case, the first line, though it's not always necessarily the first line. And very often this highlighted line is the best entry point you can use to learn more about the error or to analyze what's causing this error. In this case, I for example see that it's the build method of the summary item widget that seems to be causing this error, and I even see a link to that file here, including the code line that seems to be causing the error. And if I click this link now, I am indeed taken to this summary item widget here, and I'm taken right to the code line, in my case here line 25, that seems to be causing this error. Now, combined with the error message, the problem here seems to be that we're trying to cast something to int, so that we're trying to tell Dart that some value is of type int. That's what we're doing here with this piece of code, when the value actually is of type string. and Dart therefore complains here at runtime when executing the app that it can't treat a string as an integer, even if we wanted to. So the problem here seems to be that the value that we think is an int is actually a string. And this is a great starting point to dive deeper into this error and into this bug that seems to exist in this app. What is inside of item data question? Well, we can go to the results screen, which is where this map object here is constructed. And there we can take a look at the value that has this question key, because it is this question key we're accessing here. Now, if we take a look at that key, we can indeed confirm that there seems to be a string stored as a value for that key. So indeed here the problem simply is that we're accidentally accessing the wrong key. This here should be question index, because it's that question index key that contains an integer as a value. Now, because this map has a value type of object to accept different value types, Dart was not able to catch this error during development. It doesn't show any error here in the IDE when using the wrong key, because it simply doesn't store any specific type information about the values. Instead, it only knows that any kind of value is accepted here for those keys. But of course, at runtime, when this code here really executes, this crashes because question, as it turns out, stores a string and not an integer. So here the fix is to use question index instead, which is the correct key that does store an integer. And if we then force a reload and we go through all these questions again, you indeed see that now the error went away and we can see those results again. We also got no error message in the debug console anymore. And that's how you should treat error messages. Treat them as starting points to find out what's wrong. Take a look at the line of code in the code file that's causing the error and carefully read the error message. In this case, you learned that it was related to typecasting, and therefore it made a lot of sense to take a closer look at this line of code. Of course, you then still, in this case, had to find the error on your own, but the error message, of course, helped a lot with getting started with finding that error.